All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to another exciting season of your HHC podcast. I am your host, Jacob Moreno, and I am excited to be here with all three of my brothers to start off this season. We've been in the works trying to get things situated, trying to make sure that this new season is going to be special, make sure that this new season is going to be looking the best that it can, sounding the best that it can, and all the things to be ready for some Wemby basketball in San Antonio. So, Josh, I know it's been a great offseason for you, so go ahead and just kind of give me a little rundown of how you've been.
And I've been doing good, it's exciting to get Spurs basketball underway. We had the video of all of us going crazy. Wemby when we got him. So like to see him in a jersey, to see him live. We had a chance to go to the game. Me and Juan, and man, it's been awesome. It's been cool.
Juan, you went to the game too, man. How have you been? How's your offseason been?
My offseason's been pretty good. Yeah, that game was electric. Even though it was a loss, just the energy in the building and all the way through, you just felt it. You're like
playoff ball, right?
Yeah, it was like, oh my goodness, this is insane. And that little fourth quarter stretch he had, even the end when dunk, the building exploded. It was insane. And it's just the beginning. When you think about it, we're just getting started with it. It is so fun.
No kidding, man. I be seeing all the stuff from summer league, from the preseason, and even into the season, and you just see the atmosphere that the crowd brings now, and it is crazy. It is crazy to see. But Chris, I know we were able to have our episode 0 last week, but go ahead and catch us up, man. How you been?
We're only 7 days and 45 minutes late to episode 1 of this season, but we're here. And me and Jake were able to have that talks a couple weeks ago, but still excited, right? We've in just this first little batch of games. I think it was his first 5 games. We've had a ton of stuff already happen. You can feel that energy hasn't really slowed down. And then on our front, happy to have Juan and Josh here for the first official episode. So I'm ready.
Well, like Chris said, man, it's our first official episode of the season. We are officially in year 4 for us doing this, so it is definitely been a journey. It's definitely been a fun experience for us, and it's always exciting to see how much we've grown as not just as Spurs fans, but as podcasters, right? As people.
But as people.
But no, just growing in the way that our conversations have been. It's been a long time since it's just been me yelling at Josh about what my take's being right and his take's being wrong. So, I'd like
I don't think I've been wrong, man. I don't think, honestly.
Oh, okay. But we have a lot of fun conversations that we've had over the years, and I definitely know that we're excited to continue this conversation, especially now that we have a number 1 pick who's been going off. So today we do have a lot to talk to you guys about. We got a lot of Wemby discussion as always, but we also have some stuff for our guy Devin. We know that Point Sochan experiment has been doing his thing, so we've been keeping a close eye on that and seeing how we feel about that. And then our team as a whole, man, they've been doing a lot to surprise us and doing a lot to make us notice not just Wemby on the court, but even guys like Seti Osman, Keldon, or even kind of noticing the lack of things like some Malachi Brennan minutes, things like that. So we have plenty of stuff that we're going to be getting into, but of course, as always, we always got to start off with that boy Wemby. And we got to talk about how he's been killing it, how he's been doing his thing, and how Victor Wembanyama, who Juan just got his jersey for, and who Josh just got his jersey for, had to had to go to that first game, had to go get the representation, man. It's super exciting to see that kind of stuff. I know. Did y'all get one for Dad too?
Yep, Dad also got one.
He got the same one like me.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of dig it, right? The side.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't know how I
very nice.
First, as I got it,
I'm
I'm
gonna look that it's got going.
And I believe they're wearing those today against the Raptors. The
these jerseys?
I believe so.
That's
I might
interesting.
suit up.
That's interesting to think about, just because our like most of the time teams don't keep the same jerseys like that all the time. Even like when Utah like struck gold with their throwbacks, or like when Miami started doing the Vice City, like you saw them change colors, you saw them change it up. So for us to kind of keep that same jersey this year, uh,
Hmm.
it's cool. It's cool. I'll take it. Not my favorite jersey in the world, but I definitely like the design on the side. So, but like I said, we got our Wemby talk. Me and Chris had our talk in our episode 0. So I really wanna let Josh and Juan drive this conversation forward, just because they haven't been able to talk about him from summer league, haven't been able to talk about him from preseason, and we're already 5 games in plus a near 40-point game in. So I wanna let Juan take the floor first, and just kind of see what he thinks about Wemby and how he feels going forward.
Yeah, so I guess just to start, like, we were all so excited when we won the lottery. We knew we were getting Wemby. We had seen him all year, and some like on this podcast, we'd go, well, like if you get a top pick next year, like how would this team look around like Wemby? And that's just like hopeful talk. And then it happened, we got him, and it's so exciting. And yet, like, I'm still just like blown away. Like, he's more than what I was expecting. Even like just from those summer league games, like you could just see it. You're like, oh, he's making the right pass. He probably was a little sped up. He was a little like too excited for like that first summer league game, and then the second game he settled in and was just like, he went off against I think it was Portland. Same thing with the preseason game. Like, he comes out, like, you see the flashes, and then it just from there he's just more comfortable. He was averaging like 20 points a game in like basically a half during the preseason. And so I know we've talked about it like behind the scenes, like all of us, like Wemby has adjusted pretty quickly to his environment. The summer league game, the preseason, and then now like the regular season, he was in foul trouble against the Mavs, and then just he just looked so much more comfortable, and that's like without us like focusing like the game plan straight through Wemby, and just like the talent he has, he probably is like the best player we have like in every asset. Even though like his passing numbers, like his assist or whatever, but like he makes the right passes. There was like plays where like Devin like overthrew like the just throw it up, right? They say that he just catches it with one hand and just like tossed it to Jeremy for the easy assist against Phoenix, right? And it's like little plays like that. I guess to just summarize all that, the way I described it was like, I knew Wemby was special because he was like 7'4" and he's really talented. But just getting like a chance to see him play, especially like in person, the takeaway I can say is like, oh, even if this guy was like 6'5", he would have been the #1 pick in the draft, because he's just more talented than everybody. And so like that's my takeaway. It's that being that abnormal height and weight and speed, and then being that gifted and talented when it comes to just basketball skill, like when you combine those together, that's how you get the greatest prospect of all time and a chance to really cement himself. I know we're only 5 games into his career, but like you can just see the potential, and that's my takeaway. Is he is just blowing me away in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% on the dot with that. Like, I think again, you look back to the last 3 years of us doing this podcast, and all of us are talking about these players on our team, and we're like, man, guys like Devin could look good, Keldon Johnson could look good, but you just see that the other teams are just that much more talented than us. They just had that guy on their team that would close out, or like, you just knew that they had the person to look to right at the end of the game, and we didn't at that time. So but now we do. Now we do, and it's already showing its difference in the first 5. But Josh, I'll let you take the floor now. Like, how you been feeling about Wemby, and what are you looking forward to with them?
Yeah, I'll just piggyback off Juan because I feel like the same way. He's adjusted like super quick. 5 games in, he's dropping, 38 points. And I felt like it was like an easy 38. He wasn't like going crazy. It's just like I don't know. He like it's so effortlessly. And I guess we'll talk about it here in a little bit. But with Devin out, and he's just gonna get more opportunities. Like, I'm excited to see what he's gonna do when he's just like the only guy on the not I'm not gonna say the only guy because we got KJ and we got some hoopers and like Trey's been playing super well and we'll see what Malachi does or whoever gets these extra minutes that now that Dev's gonna be out for a little bit, but it's just super nice to know that we have like a number one, like you said, you know, we wanted to see what the guys would look like with the number one, and we have him like, and he's like way better than I thought he was gonna be 5 games in. Right, so it's exciting to see, and we don't gotta wait too much longer here. You know, they play at 2:30, so yeah, I'm ready, man.
I know it is definitely one of the things where I already knew this year. I mean, every year I know I try to make sure that I give myself the right amount of time to be able to go in, tune in to games, make sure that like if I'm missing a game, I want to go back and watch it, and you know, be the right Spurs fan that I am, and be the right like type of podcaster that it can be, and know that I'm tuning into almost all 82 games in a year to be able to come onto the podcast and talk about, like, give the most educated knowledge that I can. But now it's just even easier to be like, oh, Wemby's playing? Yeah, I'm make sure I turn on this game at 2:30. Make sure that like whatever I'm doing, I'll be able to just have this in the background. That way I know that I can watch the game or something, because it's just even easier. It's just even easier now. And Chris, I mean, are there any last things that you've been feeling about Wemby to start out the year?
Hey, well, I'll just say I'm glad that you feel like that. So earlier before we got on the camera, Juan was saying like, go out when you feel those urges to go out, because as you get older, you'll lose those urges, right? You'd rather just stay home. So I'm the same way. Like Wemby has been one of those things of like, I can't wait to watch him again. I can't wait. Like, you know what I'm saying? And you find yourself more often than maybe in years past, like just sitting on your phone looking through the highlights, even though you've seen him before. I've actually gotten there's already it's a small sample size.
I've seen his 38 performance like 10 times already.
Okay, so it's a small sample size, but you already have like, okay, when you see him standing on the baseline against the Rockets, you already know, okay, this is where he's gonna sweep through and get that underneath the rim. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he is already having these moments that are getting like imprinted in your brain a little bit. But I am glad that you feel that way, because even though that's how I feel, I still missed almost the whole whichever Phoenix game where we went to overtime. Was that the second one? First one? Or we went at the end. Where we snuck the game at the end. Was the first one, right?
That's the first one, yeah.
Okay. So I was just laying in my bed, ready, like just resting and feeling so good, and then I was like, the game is on, and it was like 11.
Yeah.
So I
would have stayed up and watched the replay. Right.
Well. So I ended up watching it. I watched the fourth quarter, or like the third and the fourth the next day. But no, I caught I would say the last maybe 4 minutes. So I got to see all the closing action. You know what I'm saying? I got to see all the exciting stuff anyway. But it still was good to go back and rewatch. But maybe that speaks to the point. I actually was like, let me go back and rewatch this game tomorrow morning. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So. No, that's the era we're in. So I don't have too much to add, because we already kind of talked to the a lot of it last week. But I mean, it has just been good to see him continue to settle down. We talked about how in his interviews he has like this like that killer instinct a little bit that we haven't really been able to see on the court yet. So we're like every moment that you know there's an opportunity for him to give a little bit of that, you're ready for it. So like all that kind of stuff, like that's what's been, I don't know, maybe just as exciting as his basketball play. It's just been like, I don't know, a crazy experience all around.
Oh dude, it's that aura. Like that's like the biggest thing that I see is just Brody, he like will go to a podium and just like, you're just like, wow, yeah. Like he's him. He's him. He's him.
And we were texting right at the end of that Phoenix game, and the one where they kind of cut it close again. I think this is the second one, right? And when I texted saying like, we can close him out, we can hold him off, I was like so confident in it, because you just like, I don't know, you just felt it, right? You could just and we had kind of, we've seen it before in like the highest of highs when our machine was really, really humming with our big three, where it was like, you knew even if it was a close game, we could execute 3 plays in a row that would turn a 4-point game into a 12-point game in the last 2 minutes of a game, and just really kind of like that's the separator. So it just felt like we had a separator on a couple of these nights. You're like, wow, here we go, you know. And we're only at the beginning, so it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, I mean, we're still kind of talking about that beginning, and obviously, like, we could go on forever about Wemby. We could probably talk for the entire podcast about Wembanyama, but through and through, this has been like team-oriented play, and it's for better for worse. You know, like the first couple games, you're like, oh, let's just give it to Wemby. Let's only give it to Wemby. But to me, there was like at least a little bright spot in that, and being that when we were trying to play a little bit more team-oriented, we saw like some bits and spurts from a lot of these guys in being like Seti doing his thing and Trey doing his thing, but also for me, most importantly, Devin scoring the ball the way that he's been doing it. So seeing both Devin and Wemby kind of like show up and be like the two leading guys on this offense, to me it's been really cool to see. It's been definitely something that I've been happy to see, because I mean, y'all know, last 3 years, I have been the guy that's like, Devin Vassell is the truth. He's going to be that guy. Like, he can be the Chris Middleton to our Giannis. That's like the expectations that I have been laying on him for the last couple years. And just seeing the growth and development that we've seen from him. So to see him putting up his 20 a game, and to see Wemby getting up to 20 a game right now, like, we got two 20-point per game scorers with the bench leading right behind him, and it's been nice to see. But Juan, I know that this has been a topic that you've been wanting to bring up, something that you've been wanting to say about Wemby and Devin, and how you feel about them being a duo right now.
Yeah, so kind of just like what you said, like the Chris Middleton to the Giannis, that's kind of the most you could like hope for, especially like before you actually see Devin next to a true number one. Like if he had that super next level, you know, we would have seen it already. Like if he could have been a number one option himself. But in this spot, I think that's exactly where he needs to be. And he probably won't be like the defender that I hoped he was going to be. Like when we first drafted him, I wanted him to be like, I think honestly, I think my first, the Kawhi stuff, but I think it was the Kawhi stuff, but then I kind of came back to earth and I said, well, maybe he could just be a souped up Danny Green. And you know, he's probably a little bit above that at this point, that Chris Middleton, but yeah, like this is exactly where he needs to be. The gravity that Wemby will have, especially like in fourth quarters, if Devin can continue to shoot like at this 40% 3-point thing, like he's the perfect complement to what Wemby can be. And he's the perfect complement to a number one option. Like say if it wasn't Wemby, say if it was just like a ball dominant like point guard who could just like attack the rim and get, or like a Luka type of player, right? I think Devin's the perfect like complementary piece to pace a star like that. And so I think that just bodes well for like the type of team we're looking to build. He can score like kind of with the ball out of his hands. He can cut, he can catch and shoot. And then like off those cuts and drives, he's starting to attack the rim. I know that's what Josh has always asked for. He wanted Devin to attack the rim more. He definitely was too young. It reminded me of like the DeJounte stuff. Like every year DeJounte would just be stronger attacking the rim, more free throw attempts each year. And we're starting to see that now with Devin, which he's only 22 or 23. So that kind of makes sense. This goes along with just like that natural evolution for NBA players. But I think he's the perfect complement, and then it kind of slides Keldon down to that number 3 option, and we've seen a couple of these games where it's already kind of shown like that hierarchy and how well it can work off of each other. So I definitely am excited for it. I don't want to, like, I'm gonna knock on wood, like I don't want to like think about it too much, but he's hurt again. He missed a lot of last year with that knee injury. Now he's got a growing injury, but still, like, I think his offensive game is just a perfect piece aside Wemby.
For sure. I mean, it's like when you have somebody, like you're saying, somebody that gravitates the attention to him like Wemby does, somebody who could just hit that 3 ball, like you're already looking like a good piece to help around. Now Devin is that type of guy who can shoot the 3 ball, but then put the ball on the ground, take you off the dribble, and hit it in the mid range, take it to the rack that he's been doing in those Suns games before he got injured. Like he.
He had some big time like I think it was like a sidestep three against Phoenix in the first game during the
Yeah, like
comeback. Like he
right
had
at
some
the end
pretty
of the
clutch
comeback.
fourth quarter shots too. So like, it's just like, I'm sorry, I know you were going, but like, it's good to just because we've seen Wemby dominate the fourth quarter all the 5 games. Like, you do need another piece to be able to not shy away in those moments. And if Devin can step up in the fourth quarter as well, like we don't need Devin to score 20 in the first 3 quarters and then disappear in the fourth, like, because then, like, once you get to the playoffs, what are we going to do? So, like, we
Hmm.
do need Devin to step up. I think the only example we had last year was like that Miami game where he closed them out.
He iced the game.
And so, yeah,
Yeah.
and so, like, the more we get to see of that, the better. And you start to feel more comfortable about having him, like, as a number 2 option.
And like I mean like the one thing that I will say is like I think he's still growing from it, but we haven't seen Devin play 4 quarters consistent, like 48 minutes, go through the game, get your due, right? Like at some point he stopped shooting the ball, at some point the guys stopped looking for him, like just whatever the factors are, there's a reason why Devin hasn't gotten a 30-point game in his career yet, and it's just because that consistency's not there right now of a full game of him knocking down the ball.
I think during the Mavericks, right? He had 17 at half and ended the
Yeah,
game with 23.
and
Yeah,
then like
and
the
it's
Phoenix
funny
game
because
too.
I told him I was like, I was texting in a group chat, and they're like, Devin has 17, he's him, and I'm like, he's gonna end the game with 22 points, and he ended the game with 23, and I was like, it's kind of that's just the way it's been going, but I
And it's
think
not
this
just
year
Devin. It
especially
was the
he'll
Lonnie
break
Walker
through.
games too.
He-
It's not
Yeah,
just Devin
yeah.
like that. It's a lot of just the Spurs style, I think, and
Yeah,
it's like you said, the good and the bad of it.
But it's not it this year is good. I think it is going to be different because like you said, if we talked about this one, like Wimpy and Devin have hit their run right to start the
Hmm.
game, and like it seems like around the 6 or 7 minute mark, Wimpy gets pulled, and it's Devin, like it's just Devin on the floor. So I think we talked about it where I was like, well, you need to open the game up and get Wimby going, or let Wimby get other guys going because he doesn't have to do everything himself. I feel like he could be moving forward like a Jokic type guy, where if he just has the ball in his hands, he can get Devin going, he could get Keldon going, he could get whoever wants, whoever he decides to get going, whoever wants, is filling at that game. But um, I think that like. Yeah, just Wimby being there is going to open the floor. Like you were saying, for Devin to have some easy catch and shoot threes in the second half to close games out. Yeah, Wimby might have the ball in his hand, but that double team's coming, and who's going to knock down that shot? Like you were saying, he's not scared to shoot the ball. We know he's not scared, so like he's going to have to knock him down. Like Jake was saying, he's going to have to play big in the fourth quarter when some of these games get tight, and I think he will. Like this is the year that he's gonna break the 30. Hopefully, right? We'll pray that
Yeah,
he breaks his 30 this year.
I hope so.
I know because I think Jeremy got one last year, right? Jeremy got
Yep.
one as a rookie, I think, before Devin has one. And that's weird to think because I don't
Wemby
think of
Wemby had
Jeremy as like
40.
exploding like
Yeah.
Wemby had 38
in
in
his
his
fifth
fifth
game.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
38 his
his
fifth
fifth, yeah.
game. So,
Uh,
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
Dev will get it this year. I think so, especially if he keeps shooting like this.
yeah,
I
and
think he was on his way to do it in that Phoenix game. That Wemby had 38, except he only played the first half. But if Devin goes for 30, then Wemby only goes probably for like 25 or something, right? So like that's how it goes. But that's also a bonus for the Wemby thing is like we saw him. Devin goes down. Devin leaves like the game and at half, and Wemby is still able to take on that extra workload, like and dominated that fourth quarter, like like Chris had talked about, like in earlier. Like that's also a good look. But now we're gonna have to see that flipped. Okay, they're doubling, they're tripling Wemby. Well, now Devin has to score 15 in the second half, like 20 points in the second half.
Mhm.
And so, like, yeah, I agree with Josh. I think it's gonna happen, but it's just they're good complements with each other's games. They're both unselfish. That's like kind of like a Spurs thing, but like it's also just like basketball IQ. Like they just know when to make the right play, and I think that'll do wonders for this team.
Mhm. No, I mean it is definitely something to be like excited about. Just knowing that now, like when last year you're like, man, who could help us close out a game last year? Like, can Devin even do it right now?
Jakob.
Whatever. Like exactly. Like what are
I
we
love you.
doing here? What is this team's direction? and now we have two guys that you're like, I want the ball in
How
either
dare,
of
how
their
dare you
hands.
say that about Jakob, man? We're about to see him in just a couple
I
hours.
know he's gonna drop a 20,
Jakob's about to-
2020 on us.
Dude, and the Spurs revenge games keep happening too, man. This
Yeah.
Kata Bates,
Kata Bates,
Kata
that's
Bates and
Juan.
Phoenix went
That's
I
Juan's
know.
off.
fault. That's
I know.
Juan's fault and my buddy Jose's fault. Like y'all talked down on that fool, and he gave it to y'all good.
I know. I did those first couple of years with Kata. I was saying things like, let's just give minutes to somebody else, and he kept proving me wrong every step of the way. And then you know what? I was sad. I was like, dang, we let Kata walk this summer. I was kind of sad. And then yep, they let him play that second game against us against Phoenix. He was hitting all types. He took Wemby off the dribble up and under, and I was like, oh my god,
He
I
Yeah,
had
was
the
the
waiting.
the,
clutch
li-
three in
the
the
list
corner
of
to tie it.
players, the list of
Oh,
players who have been
God.
able to shoot over him is pretty short right now, and KBD's on that list.
Yeah.
KBD is
So
on
props to
that
Kata.
list. Yes,
Props to
no
Kata.
kidding. Love,
Even Drew. Shout out Drew Eubanks. Drew was battling that guy.
Mhm.
He was trying his best. He gave it his all. He got boomed on a couple times, but
a
hey,
couple times. a
It's gonna
couple too
happen.
many times. Poor
I
Drew,
know.
man. There's like I think there's like 4 or 5 freaking Wemby highlights on Drew alone, and it's just like,
Yeah,
yeesh,
he had he
man.
had
all
a,
right.
he got a
It's not
couple
just
he got
gonna
a
be Drew.
couple shots in
It'll be
against
everybody.
Collins though. He
Yeah.
won a few little bouts.
Drew Banks, his little floater, his touch around the rim. Yeah, he's definitely carved himself like a nice little role in Phoenix too, and I like that as a pickup for them, and the Kata pickup for the Suns too. But like, yeah, it's good to see former Spurs. I think Chimezi's on that team as well. We didn't get to see him though, but it's cool to see former Spurs out there.
100%.
He did some good claps. He had some good high fives.
Hey, even the announcers were talking about how like because they saw the first game. You see us play against Phoenix in the first game, and I think Kata only played like 8 minutes or something like that in the first one. He didn't play too much. And they were like talking about how Frank Vogel kind of was just like, okay, you know what? Let's just toss out Kata and see what he can do for experience
secret
like
weapon.
extended.
The
Yeah,
secret
and
weapon.
it was
I
a
think I
secret
said that
weapon.
right.
And Kata freaking
Yeah.
killed it out there. So it's always great whenever I see like a former Spur like kind of get their due right now. You always want to see the guys, Kata, Josh Richardson, Derek, etc. Right, like all these guys.
Jakob Pertl.
Oh, dude.
Jakob
Yeah,
Poeltl,
speaking
I
of
was
Derek,
gonna say. Yeah, I was gonna say.
Speaking of
Jakob.
Derek, that guy's hooping right now.
Yeah.
It's like that fool shaved his head and he
Yeah.
became Michael Jordan. But dude, I feel like I was always like hard on Derek because I just felt like we didn't have the right team to have Derek. And now
we
that
didn't
we
build
have
the right team around Derek White.
yeah, we should have drafted Wemby 5 years ago. Like when he was 16 cooking Rudy Gobert.
Mhm.
But like no man, it's kind of frustrating to see. I'm not gonna say frustrating, but to think that I feel like we're a good point guard away. I'm like, oh, now I wish.
Yeah.
Now
Imagine
it's
what
like
Derek
my
White would
Kata
look
Bates.
like on
Like
this team.
we let you say that. Oh, we let him walk, and whenever Derek got traded, I was like, it was the right thing to do. And now I'm just like, son of a bitch. Like why? Like,
Yeah.
why couldn't Derek be on this team with this guy just getting into the lane and playing defense and throwing the lot, like making the right pass to Wemby, like.
Because he'd
And
be
then
in the
now
right
he's shooting.
spots
Like he went to
everywhere.
Boston and that was like busting. So like, yeah, I do be missing me some Derek White these days.
I know.
5 games in, I'm thinking about Derek White.
I was always one of the biggest Derek White fans. DeJounte was my favorite player. I had all his jerseys, but I'm not gonna lie, there was always like a battle in my heart of like who I loved more. Because Derek just did the little things. He got all the dirty work. He was taking all the charges, and he was like, oh man, he was perfect. I love Derek, and the memes of him like doing that face when he was like with all the Spurs, like yeah,
Yeah.
like all that stuff. We got him
Favorite
that bobblehead, and then we shipped him out of town. Man, it's still. I still remember that moment. I was just sitting in the kitchen and I saw the Shams breaking news. That broke my heart. But like you said, he shaved his head. He went Jordan, and he's going off. I did see that he's only missed 2 games since being in Boston, and both of them have been for the birth of his child.
I saw that too, and I'm like, God, this guy,
So
they
he
must got
was
some good doctors over there. Like, what's the deal? 'Cause
those last couple
that
of
fool
years with
couldn't
us.
stand
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
he was always missing time, and then his shot, because he was forced to take like 10 a game for us, and it was just him and DeJounte. So yeah, like the fact that his 3-point shot is back, because it was starting to look like that bubble year was just an outlier, and that his 3-point shot was really just like an anomaly. That one year it was good, but now that he's shooting well with Boston, he's healthy all the time.
And
Props to
that was
Derek.
my growth, right? I was like, dude, that he had a Denver series and he played good in the bubble. And we want to pay him. We want to give him all these men. And then now I'm just like, hey, come back, dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
I
Now
miss
they're
him.
talking about contract extensions in Boston, and I'm like, no, don't do it.
Yeah. See, I'm hoping that team just blows up because I
You
just
want
hope
Derek White?
just come
let
home,
him
Derek.
let them win the title the next 2 years,
Before
something like
No,
Wemby
dude, I
that,
start.
don't want
and
him. I don't want no.
let them win the
No,
next two
man.
years or something like that, and then when we're ready, then
But
he's like, all right, I'll do it.
honestly, the way it's looking going into the season, I was like, yeah, the Spurs could fight for this, and the Spurs could fight for this, and then I'd be seeing Wemby hoop, and I'm like, dog, we're a year away. Like that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Hey, I mean,
My whole
it,
thing is
it just takes the right
it's all
it just
mixed up.
takes the right movements, the right opportunities, all that kind of stuff to like start to build that
But
contender around
but
you.
but
So
but, al- but also just the it starts with the is this what we want, right? Because we
Mhm.
had the factors were the same last year, right? It's like what moves could you make to be a better team in the records, blah blah. So it's like, or is that what we're trying to do? You know what I'm saying? Maximize as high as we can go
I
this
think
year.
I think that's a good like kind of tie both of those topics together into like this Jeremy talk with the point guard. I know like there's been a lot of talk about a
Like,
lot
is
of
that a
gripes.
winning move? Is that a winning move?
Right. Or did Pop just go into this year saying like we're gonna experiment, we're gonna see what works for us. We're not gonna win a championship this year. Pop's been very vocal before the last couple of years of like, hey, we're not winning chips. We're just
Hey, we ain't
we're
winning
going.
shit. We ain't winning shit.
Yeah. Right. And so like that is
Ain't said it
exactly
this
it.
year though.
Yeah. He didn't say it this year, and so I feel like there's we don't really know what we're doing this year. If
Yeah, so
Wemby,
point to Juan.
yeah,
Five assists a game, dude, on 43% shooting, 5.8 rebounds a game, 9.8 points. Like that's solid.
it is solid, and it's about growth. Like the first couple of games, yeah, it looked kind of rough. Okay, the next couple of games, hey, they looked better. Jeremy had a career high 9 assists against Phoenix that second game, and I don't think Kawhi ever had 9 assists with us, right? Like there's some players who like they come into the league and they're just not playmakers, and I think Jeremy just they saw what they saw some type of playmaking potential in there. They want to give it a shot. And you know what? The trade lineups might have better offensive ratings. The trade lineups might have better defensive ratings. The trade lineups might have better plus minus. But I do think it's like we have to like reconsider like our expectations again. We're trying to grow as a team. If we end up making the play in the playoffs this year while doing that, I think that's okay. Like I don't think it's a bad thing to win some games and get closer to the playoffs. But I don't think it's not to say that we're tanking. I just don't think like people are just so like they're just so upset about like running Jeremy. Like it might not be the better lineup, but this is the best thing for his growth overall for the future. He's only 20 years old, and I think people just need to have patience again because it is frustrating when Wemby's running the court and Jeremy doesn't see him. But against Phoenix, Keldon passed him up like to start the game,
It's
and
it's going like they're
yeah,
learning. You could tell,
yeah,
like from game one
Yeah.
to game five, like you could tell they're learning and they're learning on the fly. And Jeremy even said, like, yeah, I've struggled, but I may have gotten down, but my team believes in me. He's all, and I believe in myself, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it. I think he's gonna be great. And we saw, we talked about this one, like we saw the the downside. I know Trey, like it's the offensive moving, but like when Devin got in the game and they were coming back, Book was cooking Trey. Like,
yes,
and there's just you put Jeremy out there, and I mean I'm not saying that Book can't cook Jeremy because Book is a bucket, right? He could probably cook anybody, but I still like my chances with Jeremy out there guarding him instead of Trey Jones.
yeah, I agree with that.
And the Spurs they haven't completely shied away from Trey Jones, right?
Yeah,
It's
no.
not like they've been doing this Jeremy experiment and said, okay, we're shelving Trey Jones. They've actually like relied on him to close games and shown lineups where both of them are out on the floor together. Like they've kind of shown a little bit of it all. So I mean, you just have to take it in stride. You know what I'm saying? And in terms of like finding Wemby, like Evan's missed Wemby a lot. Keldon's missed Wemby a lot. Like everybody's trying to figure out, how to be a better teammate for a guy like Victor. You know what I'm saying? And so it is fine too. Like we had mentioned it the last couple weeks ago. My first vote would have been to go with Trey. You know what I'm saying, as the stable leader and all that kind of stuff. But we've kind of seen like the best of it. Was in the preseason, and then it was the game where we took it to Phoenix in the second game against Phoenix. You can see that if we can have good defense to start the game, and we can kind of jump on teams. How many times in the preseason did we see where it's like the Spurs have a 15-point lead like 3 minutes into the game or 4 minutes into the game? You're like, what's happening right now? It's 17-2. Like what am I watching? You know what I'm saying? And so seems like that's not that it's always going to be that big of a margin, but that's like the recipe they want is like, let's try to stifle teams simultaneously getting off to good offensive starts. Then when we plug in Trey, if that means our defense takes a little bit of a dip, well, we've built cushions in certain spots or whatever, like thing like that. It looks like that's what we're hoping for, and we try to avoid the other game that we had where it was we get off to an offensive, we can't do nothing on offense, and then have a guy like Trey to get out there and get us moving and turn our brains on. Then now we don't get anything going until like the third quarter where it's like too late. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah.
We've seen I feel like this first 5 games we've just seen a little bit of everything. The only thing we haven't seen so far is us blowing a team out early and just it being a blowout the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what we haven't seen. We've seen us lose a lead. We've seen us come back from a lead. We've seen close loss. We've seen close wins. And we've seen our ass get kicked by the Clippers. You know what I'm saying? So we've kind of seen almost all of it. You know what I'm saying? We're I don't know. We've seen a lot.
And that's to be expected when you're a young team. That is way like to be expected because you don't know how consistent these guys are going to be to start off the year. I think the most exciting prospect for me right now is like, okay, is Victor going to keep heating up? Is Victor going to keep cooling down? So what is everybody else going to start to do to adjust to that? You know, is Keldon's 3 ball going to still look the same, or is it going to start looking a little bit better? Is it going to start looking a little bit colder if Victor starts getting colder? Stuff like that. Like that's the most exciting things, prospects about it. But to bring it back to our conversation from earlier, I think the biggest thing for me, like I like doing the experience now. Like I'm not going to be upset about it, but it's like one of those things where I guess some people might be like a little like afraid of like, okay, well, did we need to see Keldon play the power forward to know that he couldn't be a power forward, right? Now, like you look back at it and at the time maybe like just because of the small ball aspect of the game, but like do we need to see Jeremy run half court point if we kind of already know it might not work? Or is it kind of like what Juan is saying, where it's just the growth? He's still figuring it out, and maybe he can grow into it and grow into having
and some of it could be necessity. I mean, like we don't want, and again, it's like we don't want to make roster changes right now. This is who we have. Like Keldon played power forward out of necessity. You know what I'm saying? And so I think if we had a higher caliber like guard that could handle point guard duties. If Blake Wesley had taken a way bigger jump this year, you're seeing less Sochan, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe Blake Wesley's a little bit of a bad example because he's kind of smaller. You know what I'm saying? But if they get a guard that has a little bit more of that stuff, maybe we don't see much of this experiment. But this is who we got on the roster. You know what I'm saying?
So this is what we're working with.
And they need to find ways to play Keldon and Sochan. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't bench Keldon, not bench, but you can't take away minutes from Keldon or Sochan at this point in their careers. You got to see what you got with them. So this is a way to get them on the court more, and you just tell the kid to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Best case scenario I see with like this experiment is like the same way Draymond was like a de facto point guard for the Warriors, right, during their death lineup runs, right? Like Steph is such a killer off ball, even though he's the point guard and he's short, like he's the small guy like that. Like he does a lot of his damage running around doing all that screens. And I think like, say we do draft a kid next year, top 10, and he's a dynamic point guard. Well, now like sometimes like during a death lineup with Wemby at the 5, Jeremy's that 4, like that Draymond, like running like the sets from up top. And like now he's got that experience and your guards are, you know, like a young dynamic point guard, Devin and Keldon. Like that's the best case scenario I see for like,
Yeah.
And he will be in those moments this year to learn for that.
I think
That's
we do
definitely
need,
what
because
I'd
we
like
have
to see.
Wemby, we need to get shooters, right?
Hmm.
I think we need a dynamic shooter, no matter. I mean, preferably at the point guard position, but man, if we could put shooting around
So
these guys.
even then,
Devin became
even
knockdown, right? Like whatever happened with Devin over the summer, like that fool's been like not knocking
40%
it
from
down.
three so far.
And
that's why I think it's
yeah,
best
and
case. Like
Keldon too. Like
if the best option is like a 6'2" shooter, like he's not really a point guard, but he's 6'2". Well, now
right,
Jeremy can be your de facto point, and that guy can still
yeah,
just do scoring, and like
Hmm.
Yeah.
that is what I'm talking about. That's
And we might even have to see that in this time right now, because if Devin's out, you you just slide Jeremy over to the 4, and there could be lineups where you start Trey. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying, or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there is those opportunities now where you put Jeremy back at the 4 position, but now he just has way more of that experience, those responsibilities. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And the cool part with all of this is like we've seen. To me, there are two prime examples of forwards that can look really good when it comes to playmaking. Right, you have Draymond in the half court sets for Golden State, and then you have Ben Simmons in transition. And honestly, those two things, I see both in Sochan. I'm not saying that he's going to be the all-star caliber guy like either one of them were, but just saying that like you see him in transition make those passes. I love Jeremy in transition. Jeremy in transition on the offensive end is probably like that's one of the most deadly weapons that we got, because he sees the floor so well when he's running. When he's out there running and he gets the ball, like he knows the ball's not going to stick in his hand, or unless it's like because he's going to throw it down or because the bucket's right there. And so like you just know that like whenever he's in transition that like he's gonna get a good look to whoever or to himself, right? Uh, but then like it's just him growing into that half court set of like, well, how did Draymond, like what Juan is saying, right? How did Draymond run the offense in the half court set as their point forward, right? So that's like certainly like I'm very excited to see how we're gonna continue to grow and develop a guy like Jeremy this year with all of that kind of stuff. And it's exciting to
patience.
see.
Patience.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to have patience. It's exciting to see what all of these guys have, because we have like I mean we're seeing so many new things from a lot of people this year. Even same stuff that's still working for the older guys like Doug, right? Doug had some killer shots with the Suns, and I know for a fact so many people saw Seti in those first couple games and were like counting Doug out already, but Doug kind of showed he still got it. He can still he
But
can
I
still
mean,
get those
Doug,
minutes.
it does seem like Doug's been having to kind of like work for the few looks that he's been getting. You know what I'm saying? Like he's been having to get to put his time in. Like said he's been able to, I don't know, just have a little bit more success with the ball in his hand, maybe, or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Or maybe I don't know why we just able to have him on the catch and shoot way more than Doug. It feels.
It
Yeah.
definitely feels like they're both playing a little bit of a redundant role when they're out there on the court at the same time. But like when Doug like went off, when Doug had his couple shots, I don't think Seti was on the court, so he was able to fill into his role as more completely, more nicely than whenever like we run those minutes.
Yeah,
Of both
I
of
guess
them on
I
the
guess
court.
maybe I'm thinking like when they finally get the ball though, right? They have it in their hand. Like Seti has been able to get to the rim a little bit more and like find other options after the catch. I think maybe that's just why it seems like he's had a little bit more overall success than a guy like Doug to start the year. You know what I'm saying? Because like Doug, he kind of has like his one move. It's that ball real far out in front of him, and he likes to use his length to try to get around people for like finishes at the rim and stuff like that. Said he kind of feels like he just has more tools, you know, at the rim, like with his body and or even just like a pull up jumper or something like that. But I mean, I want them both to shine.
Hmm.
Yeah, you can't have enough shooters. If Chetty got that shot going and then Doug's on the bench or on the court at the same time,
And those
yeah,
back to back threes or those like 2 threes in a short amount of time he had against, I think it was Phoenix, like it helped change the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In a heartbeat. So yeah, we need him.
true professional right there. Came off the bench, bucket.
Buckets.
yes,
And
sir.
and we have, I mean, like we're talking about Seti and Doug because well, Seti's kind of at the top of our bench unit at the moment, because I'm pretty sure he comes in for
Yeah,
Wemby,
he's
right?
first one off the bench.
He's first
Yeah.
one off the bench for Wemby, so it's definitely cool to see that. Like thinking that he was gonna be 8, 9, 10 for us, and he's kind of being more 6, 7. It's definitely been cool, like
So
because
it's
he's
interesting that's how
flourished.
y'all feel though, because I feel like if a guy like I don't know if a guy like KBD or Rudy Gay or any of these vets we've had in the past 5-6 years would turn into a 6 option, like what the heck is going on right now? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
why?
Mhm.
Even if it's on it because of their merit, because of their production, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know, like because now we have the better security in our like top options that you. Well, I don't know, like it's
Yeah,
okay. You know what I'm
I think
saying?
that's how I feel. Like we just know the top guys, and those guys aren't taking minutes from our young guys no more. Like our
Mhm.
young guys are in there
So
doing
so
their
can I ask
things.
this
Like
question? Can I ask
that's
this
how I
question
feel.
to you guys? With and luckily it looks like Devin's not going to miss as much time as people probably feared when it was like we're waiting on MRI, we're waiting on MRI, because you start to think about like is he injury prone or blah blah blah, and to get into that, but just like if he's going to be missing time, or when he comes back, if it's going to be like, hey, we are going to try to be mindful about the amount of minutes he plays or blah blah whatever, like are you like who do you want to see step up the most? Are you angry that said he's taking that spotlight because you want a guy like Malachi to be the one to step up into it? Like I don't know how do you hope we operate if Dev, just in terms of replacing Devin's production, if we got to see less of him?
To
Well,
me, I don't feel like that way at all. I feel like we have our 1, 2, and even our 3, like in Wemby, Devin, and KJ. So now, to me, like when things happen like that, it's like next man up, whoever's gonna be the best
can
option.
Jeremy can Jeremy take on more?
Well,
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so I
Even
guess what I'm
Jeremy,
trying to say
but
is like here's our roster is like,
position
And
wise,
I know Devin's way up here, but when Devin moves, like everybody kind of moves up along, right, to fill in the gaps. And I guess what I'm saying is specifically when it comes to like our fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth option, are you okay if Seti is the guy who's really spearheading that, or are you like
absolutely.
okay, that's what I was asking, or do you want it to be a guy like Malachi
I,
or a
I
younger
think,
guy? You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
I think the thing that would like kind of upset me would probably be like if it felt like, cause okay, with this specific situation, right? Like to me, the most obvious answer of who's gonna start today is it's Malachi, right? Because they just gonna fit in. He's just gonna fit in as like
Yeah,
the
so they
offensive.
don't have to change up the
Did
rotations
they
a
Yeah,
announce
lot.
it?
nothing
They
like
announced
that.
that?
I don't know if
Maybe,
they
It,
we can check now.
yeah, but
I
so
know
that's
it's getting
just
pretty close.
my prediction, right? Is that Malachi is going to start today, right? But like, I think what would annoy me would probably be like if we started a guy like Devonte Graham, just to let Malachi still stay on the bench and do his thing. That's like where I would kind of be like upset is if we're seeing like that pop thing of like, yeah, instead of putting in or like how would it, like instead of having the 6 7 guy move up to 5 4, we're bringing 9 all the way up to 3.
I guess what
And
I'm trying to say though is let's say he gets some minutes and he starts to play well and he starts to outplay Malachi. Are you in a year like this? Are you cool with them continuing to give him minutes, or would you rather them
that,
really try to keep a guy like Malachi? Like, okay, we're in
yeah,
development mode. We got to see what Malachi's got. Like that's
that's
I
like
guess what.
this.
Go ahead.
That's like the same thing we were talking about, right? Like, what type of direction are we going in this year? Do we
Yeah,
want
yeah, exactly.
all right? So that seemed like my heart wants it to be Malachi, and I still remember last year Malachi had that great February, and we wanted him to get that Rookie of the Month. He got beat up by Walker Kessler right before the All Star break. He's averaged like 17 points a game, and people were like, "Yep, Malachi's better than Trey. Let's get rid of Trey." Remember, like everybody was so ready for that, and I will never forget that because like it was like I love Malachi, but I still feel like that was an overreaction, and he started this year. I think he's shooting like 30% from the field this year, and
it's been rough.
he's not really. Yeah, it's been rough. So as to just keep a good solid like state, I wouldn't mind if Chetty just can cover like this time period that Devin's gonna be out. Like if he can pick up that slack personally, but over the long run of the season, I do want Malachi to because that's what he's out there for is to score. Like he's not shy about it. He takes every shot he likes, right? And he likes a lot of shots. So I definitely want
Yo,
to see
they
him.
were on that for game one.
Right, exactly. And it's like that's his job. He's probably told by the coaching staff, "Hey, you're like, you're a scorer off the bench. Let it fly." And then that's what he's doing. And so, none of the shots are falling. So it's like if you can't score and you're not passing the ball, then what are we doing out here? But I definitely for like I'm a big Malachi guy. I want him to show up and be like a true scorer, especially like as a solid option off the bench. But like let's just say Devin missed this whole week. Well, if Chetty was the one to step in just to keep things rolling, especially with Wemby, like to try to see how he looks, just like giving him clean looks or running the offense through him, then I'm fine with it. Like right here in the short term.
Yeah. No, it definitely like I wouldn't I'm not opposed to that kind of stuff, but to keep the rotations right, like I think you kind of do have to keep a guy like Seti in the position that he's in, because then who's taking Seti's spot of taking Wemby's spot?
Dougie.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
just think
don't know.
that in every team has their building blocks. Like, how many building blocks do you need? Like, honestly, like how many like if 1 through 4 were solidified, Wemby, Jeremy, KJ. If y'all feel KJ's in there, I feel like he is. KJ and Jeremy, like, then how many guys do we need to be like, okay, we need to put more in you going forward because you're going to be here for the long run. Like, I feel like we have our 4, and then when money becomes involved and that gets tied up, then some of these guys are not going to be here.
You hope that people kind of slot where they're slotted. You know what I'm saying? Where you can get a guy and say, look, your production puts you on 6 through 9 on any roster that you're going to be on, not just ours. We want to pay you to be in that position. We want to give you security.
Well, but I'm just saying, as far as thinking like, oh, I want it to be this person, I feel like we have our building blocks. So happen, you're kind of just like, dog, whoever it's gonna be, just needs
anybody
to do
start
their
stepping
job.
up. Anybody.
Like anybody, no matter who, if it's
but in a year
like
this, you could learn a lot about Malachi and where he's gonna slot for your future. Then I'm just curious, like in the short term,
because even Trey, like we pay Trey, like he's with us going forward, right? So like
he's solidified at this moment in time, right?
Yeah, for sure,
right?
For
so
sure.
Like that's 5, I think, and then Zach just signed.
Yeah,
so.
Zach got paid 17 in it. Yeah. So to your point, Josh, I think that is a really good point. Like, if Malachi doesn't work out, then you're probably not hurting. The only thing I would say is there's a lot of people who are going to be like, oh, well, we traded Derek White, and that was the pick we got from Derek White was the Malachi pick, and then we did nothing with him, right? Like, people are gonna like be mad, but it does happen, right? And people hate
home runs every time,
Yeah, I think the Blake Wesley was also from that same trade, right?
No,
Didn't
so
we get
Malachi was who was Malachi? Who did we trade?
Maybe Boston. Maybe Boston had to be.
Boston's pick was 25. Boston's pick was 25. That's what I do know.
Okay.
That was Blake Wesley.
That's
so we traded because we traded Derek White for the first round.
We traded Derek White for a swing, right?
And then
was
we
Thaddeus Young the Toronto pick?
There it is. Yeah, Thad. We traded Thad for the Toronto pick that ended up turning into Malachi. So you trade Thad for Malachi and you're happy. And I mean, you definitely say that now about trading Derek for Blake Wesley and future things, right? We traded Derek White for Blake Wesley and Josh Richardson, who got traded for 4 second round picks.
We did trade Derek, but we put Derek in a good spot. Like we did.
Earlier when you were saying that, like when he got traded, and you were like, it's the right time. I mean, it was the right time, and especially it was right for him. We tried to do right by him.
Like we put him in a good spot.
And that dude was, games away from being ringed.
You just brought up Josh Richardson. Josh Richardson would be another perfect type of player to come off the bench with this type of, like Josh said, we have the young core. So now you just need vets like Chetty, Josh Richardson, like people like that who are going to provide defense and consistency, as opposed to like having your 5 through 10 or 6 through 10 being
all young guys,
20-year-olds.
Trying to figure it out. No, 100%. And man, and I think that's like, a lot of people can be upset about what this offseason looked like, but I think that we did kind of put ourselves in the position where we're not necessarily playing a bunch of young guys, but we also didn't put ourselves in the best position with some of our guys. Because I definitely think, like, we haven't talked about him at all, but Charles Bassey, him being in the role that he's at right now, like, I don't think he's ready for it. I don't think he's ready to be the backup center right now, because it just hasn't looked like like his job isn't nearly as crazy as other people. You know, it is you go
Yeah,
out there, you play good
you'd
defense.
almost want a guy. You'd almost want a guy like a Drew Eubanks because Drew Eubanks and him are close to each other in skill level, and but a guy like Drew Eubanks is going to give you the Zach Collins energy and the Keldon Johnson hustle, and so you can expect maybe a few more points here or a few more clutch rebounds or a good
Yeah,
box out when
just
you
things
need it or
things
something.
things that like
I'm
Drew.
curious to look up their stats because
And not to
I feel
hate
like he
on.
hasn't been like as bad as Jake.
No,
I feel like he's
I
just
don't think
dogging that guy.
I don't think he's been bad, but he's just been a very I mean I guess and at the end of the day, if you don't say the backup center's name, then he probably did something right. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And that's really all he has to do. His responsibilities are pretty low, and a guy like Drew Eubanks as well. But I don't know.
I think where I'm coming from is he just looks young. He just looks young out there. Like if we had a guy like Drew out there, you're seeing him impact the game just that much more, and that's what I'm not seeing from Bassie, right? Like whether it is on the offensive side of the ball, he's impacting the defensive side. He's playing interiorly, like he's doing his job. Like when he comes off the bench for Zach. With the defense, it's just like getting some of those rebounds and getting some of the easy points, things like that I'm like
Yeah,
that I'm
I
just
mean,
not seeing.
I get what you're saying.
Especially when our backup power forward, we have to give minutes to Seti and to Doug and to
Who are smaller.
You know what I mean? Like
It makes
yeah,
it harder.
like
Our
Yeah.
rebounding has not been good this year, so
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Bassie's only averaging 11 minutes a game, so
Yeah,
he
I was gonna
definitely
say 11 minutes.
he's definitely on the
He-
shorter end of getting like exactly what you said. Like we're not even really using him that much, and that might be to them not really being too happy with, that could be both, right? Like if he was playing better, then you'd find minutes for him to play more, especially like if that's your issue. But I don't know. I haven't had like a thought honestly all year about like I'm not happy with Charles Bassie. So I was kind of surprised to hear you say that.
I've never, yeah.
again
But
it was something that
Drew Eubanks is averaging, let's see, 7 points a game and 5 rebounds. So in an additional 11 minutes, because he's averaging 10 minutes, he's only averaging 3 more points and 2 more rebounds.
yeah.
I think
and
it is just
we're
the
just comparing
it
to
is just
Drew.
the it might be a little bit more of like he has reason to be out there for longer. You know what I'm saying? They need him to be out there. We have Wemby, we have Collins, and the way that they're distributing their minutes, it makes the backup center position just less important. It really does. You know what I'm saying? But it's just one of those things. Like if you're looking at your roster, and it's just, are you thinking about the 10th and 11th man on the depth chart?
Yeah, because even my first thought, the only thing I had about a backup center was after the Mavs game when we played against their rookie, and it's like, I sure would like for our backup to come in like that type of player, but
Yeah.
that's the
Be
only thing I've
bouncy.
had. Yeah, right, like a bouncy, just physical guy, might get into foul trouble, but if he's playing 15 minutes a game, then who cares, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And
And that's a Drew Eubanks too. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like
and so
yeah.
that is the only thought I've had, but that was after the Mavs game when Lively was all over the place. He was getting everybody trouble. Trouble.
And on top of that, like that was a game where you could see that they went bigger. We didn't really have size to match when Collins wanted to sit, when Wemby wanted to sit. You know what I'm saying? And so it could poke its head where you're thinking that more than just during the Dallas game. You know what I'm saying? Like along the year. So I think that's kind of where my head was at too. Like, and I said that a couple weeks ago with Jake was like my ceiling on how excited I could be for a guy like Charles Bassie. It is a little capped for me because of those kind of things.
Mhm.
Well, we'll see today too, because Toronto's big. They got Jakob, Siakam, and Scotty Barnes is going off this year. So we'll get a good look.
I'm very excited for this matchup because Toronto is big, and also the by far very worst half court offense in the league right now. Like terrible. You go look at the offensive ratings from Toronto to like the next worst team, and like Toronto I think is less than 100, and the other team's like maybe 110.
But if they can muddy up the game and make it an ugly game, that might spell trouble for us. You know
For
what I'm
us,
saying? Like,
yeah.
because the
A
ugly
lot of
game,
physical guys against
aka the
Wemby has not looked too good.
the Wemby foul trouble game, or our offense starts to look kind of stagnant, and we don't have the juice to kind of get it going.
You know that was game 1, the Wemby foul trouble game, right? Dallas. And I feel like Adam was like, Don't do that shit again. like,
I mean,
because he had
and
one
it's
foul going into the fourth quarter.
but
I
it's
think he got his
crazy
first foul
because
in the fourth quarter against Phoenix.
he
And I'm
still
like,
hasn't even got to the
I'll take
era
it.
of getting like the calls with the ball in his hand. You know what I'm saying? He still hasn't even got to that yet.
Oh man,
yeah.
that and
And once
one
that
dunk
happens,
over
boy,
over Drew Eubanks too.
Yeah.
Like you see him calling for it, he's like, dude, and then you look at the replay and his whole forearm's getting stopped by Drew Eubanks, but he still just powers over him to dunk it.
Yeah.
You're just like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness. It's
he's,
crazy.
and-
you know, he's strong. Like, you know, people talk about him being, you know, flimsy and skinny or whatever, but like even on the dunk, the fast break dunk where Trey, like, you know, dropped it off to him and he got fouled on that shit too. Like, he hit his arm, he went right through it, he went over Drew. I feel like both times he's stronger than like I thought. Like, you know, some people
Yeah.
will lose that ball, you know, and he didn't.
Yeah.
So I'm digging it right now.
Well, he looked bigger from just the draft to the preseason, right? Like he's been adding that weight, and I know his camp said like we're done adding weight right now, like we'll see what like from here on out. But like, hey, as long as he can
But them
freaking
bean
power
and
through,
cheese be talking to that boy, huh?
right? So yeah,
You
I
can't
agree
stop.
with you. And I think that like the fouls, like the first thing that comes to mind was like when he was posting up like Grant Williams, and like they called a foul on that. I don't think we're gonna get those
Yeah,
type of calls.
that little.
Yeah, like they're gonna have to learn how to like call him too, and like yeah, if he freaking elbows a guy in the face, then that's a foul. But if he's just like positioning himself for the ball, like every other offensive player, just because he's 7'4",
Yeah,
yeah, we'll
they
see
were
what.
letting him play. You would think that they would give the benefit like to Book because whenever he had Book like he was giving it
Yeah,
to him, you know, and he was calling for the ball and they let it go and Book just looked hopeless, like he was down there struggling for his life.
yeah,
Well, we somehow managed to get back to this Wemby talk, so it definitely is going to bring us into the
All
last
year,
thing that we
baby,
got
all
going.
year.
and you know, I was talking to Chris about it. We wanted to have like a new scoreboard graphic to run it this year, and Juan gave a great idea of just like doing one thing that we're gonna have to guess on to make it very easy for us to like, you know, we know what we're guessing. We know how the points are gonna go. We're gonna make this look right all year. So this year we'll be having our graphic look like this. We got our new scoreboard coming up. All zeros out right now because, you know, start of the season. We're starting out fresh. But this week, our question for the guys are going to be: is Wemby going to break an over/under of 26.5 points this week? At any point, we have 4 games. One against Toronto today, tomorrow against Indiana. A little bit later into the week, we got New York, and then after that, we have. I'm blanking on our 4th game. We have a 4th game, Minnesota. We have playing against Minnesota at the end of the week, and so at any point through this week, do you guys think that we are going to have Wemby score more than 26 points? 26.5 is the over/under, and that means that, you know, if you're going under, that it's going to be 26 or lower. If you're going over, it's going to be 27 points or higher. So, Josh, I want you to give me your over/under first. You think he's hitting over?
You know I'm going over. Yeah, over today against the freaking Raptors.
Okay, so you're saying he's going to get
I
it
think
over
Jakob.
against
I
the
don't know.
Raptors.
Jakob might hold him to 33.
I think Jakob's gonna be ready for his revenge game, man. I think he's gonna look at Wemby with the red hair death stare. That's what he's got. But Juan, what do you think Wemby's got? Think he's got the over under 26.5?
yeah. I'm gonna take the over as well because like Pop said after that last Phoenix game, you know, yeah, this was the first time we actually tried to run the offense through him. We're missing Devin again. It just makes too much sense. And also during the preseason, he was averaging like 20 in like 20 minutes. I think that is going to be kind of the norm for him. He's just that talented. I do think he's going to average like over 22, 23 points a game this year anyways. And I think this 25 like range is going to be just like a normal outing for him. And so I'm going to take the over for sure. I was going to say over 35.5, but hey, you wanted to do 26. I'm still taking the over no matter what.
I was like, I forget what show I was watching, but they were obviously talking about Wemby, and one of the guys said that they think he's going to average 25 this year. Like that's what they were saying on
That's
TV. And I was
crazy.
like,
Yeah.
well, for me, that's crazy. But
He's
if you
averaging
think it,
he's averaging 20 right now. He's averaging 20, but it's definitely a little skewed because of the fact that he had a 40-point game against Phoenix. So that's like,
But
well,
he
I mean,
also
he played 4 minutes against the Mavericks too. So like,
yeah, he also only had
you know,
15 and 11. Like what do you think is going to be more of the norm, like a 25-point game or an 11-point game?
that's exactly the point. Is right now he's averaging 20, and like with the way that the numbers are skewed, a 27-point game is definitely something that like through 4 games, there's a chance that he could break it. There's a chance that he just stays at the 15 to 18 range for the entire week. So like that's the give and take right now. That's why I think that this number is good for like an over under, because it's gonna like you're gonna kind of see like how unless he like has another breakout game like that Suns game, like it
So
could be
so
we could be getting close to it, but not right at 27 every time.
in the Mavs game, he had 9 shots, 1 free throw. In the Houston game, he had 19 shots and 8 free throws. In the Clippers game, he only had 10 shots and 6 free throws. In the first Phoenix game, he had 12 shots, 5 free throws. Last game, he had 26 shots and 6 free throws. So,
and
like,
that Clipper game, nobody was hooping, right? You were
yeah.
just getting our ass kicked everywhere. And yeah, those might happen. We are a young team. But I don't think it's gonna happen as often as one might think.
And it was because we got demoralized, right, by the Clippers, but also like their size and their length, it gave us trouble, right? So there will be nights where everybody just is a little out of sorts. It'll happen. I do think
Especially
we
against
will
those
see
teams,
more.
right?
Yeah, I do think we will see more 26, 27, 28-point nights than 11 to 15. But it'll probably end up averaging right around that 24, 25 mark for the season.
Yeah. So
I'll
Chris,
still take because of Devin not being in for this week, because we're still early on in in terms of defenses trying to figure out what to even do with a guy like Wemby. I mean, like I feel like it's pretty easy to say that he'll have at least one good outing. I was trying to find out like the bigs. I mean, like Miles Turner. Who's like the big guys for Jalen Smith? He's the big guys for Indiana.
Miles Turner, Jalen Smith. I don't know if that Jarris Walker kid's getting minutes right now, but those are the 3 bigs I can think about off the top of my head.
I don't know who's getting
Oh,
I don't know who's
Toppin,
getting
Obi
minutes.
Toppin's,
That's
another
right.
big
That's
for-
right. Yeah, I don't know who's getting minutes beyond Randall and Mitchell Robinson in New York. So like,
his name Isaiah Hartenstein. Solid
Yeah.
role player. Solid big.
He's a big guy.
He's a big dude.
Solid
who-
role player.
Yeah.
Sounds like
he's-
barbecue chicken to me.
is he a white guy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember him.
Oh yeah, that's barbecue chicken.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like probably today against Toronto would be the most like we saw like against the
Most
Clippers
trouble
or
that
maybe
he
like the
could get.
Mavs, like size stuff. But other than that, they're rolling out lineups like what Phoenix did. The Houston lineups, like I can see him averaging 20 shots like a game this week. I could see him having a game, where he has like 12 shots. But
But
For the most
also like the Knicks are kind of dysfunctional too. Just like the Knicks have their ups and downs in terms of how they run their stuff, and you know what I mean. And
Who knows
so
if
he
we're
hasn't
gonna
even-
get? Who knows if we're gonna get a 3-point Julius Randle game or if we're gonna get a 60-point Julius Randle
yeah,
game?
or how much effort he's gonna be putting in. Like,
Yeah.
they got their own stuff to worry about. So like we're on this little East Coast kick right now. I think it's gonna be a good week for us. I mean, we don't really do the records like that anymore, but
I
we're
just
gonna
know.
have good opportunities.
I just know
We-
Chris is gonna be he's gonna be like foaming at the mouth seeing Wemby play against Cat this week.
Oh, I know.
That'd
That'd be a good game.
That's
That's also our first in-season tournament game. Is
Yeah, it
that
is.
Friday against the Timberwolves? So
Timberwolves. I'm excited.
I mean-
I'm excited for the in-season tournament stuff. I know it's
I
been
hate
the
the
running.
courts.
I'm not the biggest fan of the courts either. I'll be completely honest
I
with
like
you.
the courts.
They're bad.
And
You know what? I like the courts like on paper, like looking at them, I'm like, oh hell yeah,
Yeah.
looks badass. And when I see the players running on it, I'm like,
No,
oh, man,
and,
what
and,
am I
and-
looking
but
at?
when you're trying to establish like an identity, right, for this new tournament, I think most people agree that the game started too early, right, in the year.
Yeah,
That they
five,
you need
six
to have,
games in,
yeah,
like
you got to have more time for the teams to figure out what they're going to try to do. Uh,
yeah. As well as
but
I mean the players when you're getting players on national TV saying, "Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to hoop." like that's like, come on,
well, I
man.
mean,
You got to
well, to be
explain it
honest,
to
Yeah,
them.
I
You
don't
got to
even
let them
know what's going
figure
on.
out and understand what's
but
going
to be
on.
honest, it's like you do want it to be a thing of like it is just a regular season game because you don't want them to not care. You know what I'm saying? Like it still goes towards your record and your playoffs and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's just been a little clumsy, right? But it should be more like uniform. Like if you want to establish an
Isn't
identity,
there
then it
isn't
should
there
be
money
every.
involved?
Yeah, there is. If it's like the winning, if the final
See,
two teams they get
You're in
it don't
cash.
matter.
Vegas,
Like
you win.
I would, if I say, oh, Dan, you're gonna get a $200,000 bonus if dog, I'm hooping,
To play a
like hooping,
maximum to play
hooping.
a maximum of one extra game, right?
Yeah,
Or is it
like
two?
what are
It's
One,
they
just
doing?
one.
one.
The championship game would be
Is the only
83.
extra game, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's like
for whatever teams are there. Yeah.
one extra game for $250,000, sure. And that's only if you won the games that were already on your schedule. I'm saying
You had
they're
to
just
play the
going to be
teams
certain
Nothing
anyways.
ones.
different. Like,
Yeah. So
yeah,
so to be honest, the way that the players have been reacting to it and like the nonchalantness of it has been a little sad because it's like that is part of your job to sell the product. You know what I'm saying? Like you are an ambassador for the league. How about you sell the fucking tournament? You know what I'm saying? You don't got to do much. Just show up and play the games that are already on your schedule. You know what I'm saying? But the league should have done a better job. Not I don't even say about explaining the rules, but just like the way that it's been
they've
rolled
been
out.
explaining it since
Yeah,
months
exactly
ago.
right. But
Richard
just the way
Jefferson's
that
on like
they've rolled it
MTV
out,
telling
like
me the rules every other
it
commercial.
should have been further along in the season, and then like the courts, they all should be like they all had that stripe across the middle, but it was different solid colors right in the middle, and the majority of it was the hardwood. You still have the trophies in the center and on the paints, and you can make those gold or you can make them clear, however you want to do. Like, but every game looks the same, but the color changes depending on the team. Now your brain starts to go, okay, that's the in-season tournament court. This is what the trophy looks like for when it's over. You know what I'm saying? Like instead, it's like this is this big red ass blob, and you're like, what the hell's happening here? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so it's
I
just
think
kind of
what you
it was
said is a
clum.
great idea. If they would have just done that middle strip,
Yeah,
that would have been like I would have been okay with just a little red
it's a little
bulls.
different. Yeah, it's a little different, but it's
The
but you know,
the
and you know exactly what it is. So you can know in an instant that it's a season tournament game, no matter who's playing, because you see the trophy, you see the stripe, and you're like, okay, cool, I know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
No,
maybe they'll
I'm
do it next year.
and I mean it's an
It
experiment.
is
It's
year
an
one.
experiment to see what they're trying to do to get more people to watch the NBA. So
Yeah.
we already know that Wemby's got half the world watching. So they just got to figure out how to get the other half.
Yeah, and he wants to win it too. So he said, "Say Spurs are winning group. What do we see? Group B."
He did.
Whatever group we are.
He said,
And
"He said Spurs are
I
winning."
don't fucking know. I don't fucking know the rules.
Yeah.
No, and I'm excited because yeah, like you said, first game of the in-season tournament against the Timberwolves. Like, I'm excited to see us because that's a team that should be farther along their process. I mean, they should be contending at this point, and if we can get a good win at that game, I'm happy. I'm so happy about it because I don't really have like a vendetta against the Timberwolves, but I just like it whenever we beat another youngish team. You know, a team with growing stars on their squad, just like how
Hey,
we are.
like so the Timberwolves got a good like example of like a number one pick like Cat who had all the talent in the world and just it never panned out. He never dominated. He never put his stamp on the league. And then you got a guy like Anthony Edwards who is the opposite of that, right? Like really talented, but also just like is so aggressive and is like willing that franchise, trying to get them to like where
He's
they want.
ready to put his stamp. Yeah. So
Right.
If
And
if he didn't have Cat, I think he would be further along. I feel like he's still trying to share
yeah,
the team a
we
little
we
bit.
we talked about it a couple weeks ago where it's like I like a guy like Anthony Edwards, it forces you to change the way that you're doing your business because for years it was Cat's vision and a little mix of the way that the organization was running him, it was just not a good fit. Like he's a little bit mature, the organization's a little immature, and neither one of them was growing. And now here comes a guy like Ant, where it's like, okay, now we have to, we probably should pivot away from Cat and really let him spearhead it. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see it. Like the same way I said,
I'll give
we're
him
still in the
6 for second rounders.
again.
Cat. 6 second rounders for Cat. Give me that boy.
Right.
Yeah, because
Uh,
like
Go ahead.
I just think it's a good like example of like you can already see Wemby compared to like a guy like Cat, like the way he talks, the way he approaches the
Carries
game.
himself.
It's his dog, right? I feel like Wemby's he's
Yeah.
a little dog.
So like this could have easily been any other year. We got the #1 pick and we just got like a guy who's super talented, and Andrew Wiggins. That Cat, like those are both Timberwolves. So sorry for that, Timberwolves fans, but like you know, like they're very talented. You could see the potential, but you know, Wiggins won a championship as the second option, the third option on the Warriors. Like that is good for that type of player, but we got a guy in Wemby who you could see being the #1, taking the reins of this whole organization, and like leading us back to that promised land. It's exciting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. And the same way that we said, or I said earlier, like that we're still in the early stages of like teams trying to scout for him and play an NBA defense against him. Our side, it's fun. Like, okay, this is our first time get to see him play against OG Jakob for the fun of us being Spurs fans. We want to see him play against Jakob a couple times. We'll get to see him against a Julius Randle. We'll get to see him against Halliburton and Turner, and like, you know, just we get to just keep seeing all these first matchups against all, like, you know, all the stars of today, and just get to see him stack up every night for the first, you know, first couple months is going to be the first games against these guys. So it's just
Yeah,
good
I
times
mean,
all around.
those photos against Kevin Durant, like that's history. Like it's literally gonna be like, hey, that was rookie Wemby against Kevin Durant, and
I love that photo of the fadeaway. The fadeaway. Wemby is like not even looking like he's jumping up straight, and he's still almost getting ready to block that shot and everything.
yeah,
That stuff, man. That like you're saying,
both
it's
ways,
iconic.
yeah. They're cool photos, and so like exactly like what Chris said, they're probably gonna be breaking NBA records when Wemby plays against LeBron. It's gonna be like viewership records.
God, you know it.
Yeah, it's gonna be insane. Yeah.
Nah, not happening. Not happening. Or
You
you
don't
saying?
think Wemby's gonna?
Oh wait, other way. No, my bad. I thought you were saying. I hope
hater.
LeBron don't boom on Wemby. I was like, not happening. Not happening.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I hope I ain't ready for that. The damn Twitter will crash.
Yeah, that's not
Like,
happening.
who's gonna get the first one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
somebody
Wemby's
is.
gonna get the first
Who
one.
would you
Wemby.
No. I mean, somebody's gonna get the first one on Wemby. Somebody, right? I'm saying, who would you be okay with?
It was
getting
already
the
Kai
first one?
Jones.
I'm glad.
It was already Kai
Kai
Jones.
No. That's preseason, and he's already gone. I'm talking about
get it,
now.
I get that it was preseason, but like
I'll let Yak do it
I
tonight.
didn't think he would got that early. And Kai
It was
Jones,
summer league. It was his first game.
It was his
Yeah,
first
exactly.
game in
Yeah,
summer
that,
league.
yeah. That's not what I'm talking about.
That was in July. So
yeah,
that was
I
a
think
month
the
of
first
the
one's gonna
finals.
be like I don't even think it's gonna be a superstar. Like, you know how Drew Eubanks had them sneaky bounces? I was like joking to myself. I'm like, that'd be funny, like if Drew catches him like on a putback or something like that. Like, because that's what I feel like it's gonna happen. Because sometimes he just turns around kind of slow. Like I feel like somebody's gonna come over the top, like putback style, but never straight up. Like who is Jabari tried it?
Yeah.
Like that shit back home.
Yeah, I
with you.
know,
Like,
man.
Yeah, he did.
Twice.
Like not
Twice.
straight up. Somebody's gonna
Easy,
catch him,
easy.
like, or like Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant the other night got him like the sneaky inbounds play. Like he got him with the left hand. I don't know if you saw that one, Chris. I know you said you missed that.
Yeah,
game, but
he kind of beats him
that
off
was
the
the
dribble
first
riders, or
game,
like
and-
sneaks it past him.
yeah. He got there before Wemby could get all the way over. So like shit like that's gonna happen probably, more often than straight up. But I don't know. I don't know if anybody's gonna get him like straight up.
It's gonna get
it'll be
to
Go ahead.
the level of the Dikembe where like everybody's trying to, and then it's gonna be
Gonna
you
try
know
him,
it's,
right?
yeah. So like Wemby's gonna average 4 blocks a game, but then like that one highlight where it's
Yeah,
like,
he'll get
hey,
that. He'll get that.
that's
He dunked
you know,
over
obviously-
Wemby.
yeah.
We'll see. I know we'll have to wait a little bit, but like, a guy like Ja Morant's gonna go at him at least once and try to try. We'll see.
Yeah.
Zion maybe.
Yeah.
Zion try to
Oh,
go through
man.
his ass.
That matchup's gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
If I have to see one more John Morant offensive foul poster, I'm gonna be so
I know.
mad.
At the very least, like,
I'll fucking do it
in the
back.
past, a guy
Boom!
like
Yeah,
John
straight
Morant with
shoot right.
because he always leads with his arm, he'll be hitting he'll be hitting Yak in the face and shit like that.
Yes.
You know, so now at least Wemby, he'll be hitting him like in the chest still. You know what I'm saying? He's
Mhm.
like, no, not even that shit's gonna work,
Dog,
bitch.
y'all just love Jakob right? That shit
Yeah.
was trash. It's like Jakob
Yeah.
couldn't get on the fucking floor without being on a poster against John
I
Morant.
know.
Mm-hmm. It's tough.
I can't wait for us to get
Who's laughing
Gabriel.
now, right?
Yeah.
That motherfucker just spin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
man. Well,
He's at home like the rest of us, watching podcasts.
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
Well, as we do wrap it up, I didn't actually give my over under on the thing. I do think
Oh,
that
dang.
I do think that I'm over on Wemby getting 27, particularly against the Knicks. Juan, Chris, did
Oh,
y'all
you're
get
calling
like
a
a
shot?
specific? Yeah, we can call it. We're not gonna,
Was
it's
that
on the
bonus?
week.
Was that bonus
It's,
point?
it's on the week.
Oh.
This is just for like props because I'm not adding any more points to this. We're not doing anything like that right now. But
I
Josh,
kind of
Josh
agree
had
with
said
you.
the Raptors. I said the Knicks. Where you?
I kind of agree with you because it's going to be on ESPN, and I do think like not like Wemby's going to take himself out of the game or like mess up the flow of like what the team wants to do just because he's on national TV, but he's the type of player to get up for those moments, and I do think he's going to try to go off against the Knicks, especially if Julius Randle is walking back in the clutch like that, like he did the other night against Milwaukee. That's barbecue chicken. Like Wemby's going to have 45. So
Or big
I do
Wemby
think
runs every single time down the court. I don't think
Yeah.
I've seen him walk up the court.
Right.
He's putting his little head down. He's gone.
he runs like yeah. So.
That's so funny when you talk. And like now that you mention it, like that's all I can think about right now. There's like the one thing where he like pointed at Dylan Brooks,
Apple
but
takes-
as soon as he
takes
like
off.
kind of starts, that is funny, man. All right, guys.
It is funny watching him. It is funny watching him like his first 2 or 3 steps. He's just like in place before he kind of gets his big body moving. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Chris, what particular game are you doing your over under on?
Oh, I don't know
Like,
if I have
you
a
could just
particular
guess,
game.
like which game would you
I-
want? What do you think you do?
I feel like I feel like the games are pretty similar, right? Like we're on the East Coast. They're kind of earlier starts. Today's by far the earliest, the 2:30. It could, I don't know. I would say today or New York.
Okay.
There in New York,
today in
yeah.
New York. Those are the two games, pretty
I'm
much.
gonna go both. I'm
Yeah.
gonna say he might hit that hole 3 times this week.
Oh, shoot.
Honestly, yeah.
Against Minnesota too. Like against Minnesota too.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll get to see that. We'll get to see the Gobert rematch.
Oh, yeah, that'll be
Oh,
fun.
that'd be sweet.
That'll be fun too. A guy like Rudy's gonna try to step up on that side a lot more too. So
Mhm.
that's exciting. It's exciting stuff. Like I said, as we wrap it up.
One thing. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
One thing
Go ahead.
I was gonna mention. I was watching the TNT broadcast, obviously on Wednesday, right? Or I mean Wednesday, the first game. I forget what day that was. Tuesday. Okay, so Charles was like, you're too damn big to be on the outside. You're too damn big to be on the outside. You need to get low. You need to get low. You need to get low. And I agree with him. I'm like, I do want Wemby to go down low and to be in the paint more. And then I was watching the next day. I was watching Richard Sherman talk, and Richard Sherman was saying that he likes Wemby playing on the wing because usually when he plays on the wing, they defend him with wings. And I'm like, I now when he said that, I was like, I guess I never really thought about that. But like the second game, it was that night, like he kept going to the wing, and they would put Book on him, and they would move, and they would move, and they would move,
And then
and
put him
then
in the
Book
post
started
with
him in the post. Yeah, like so him just being out there at the start of the play, yeah, it's kind of frustrating. But as the play develops, like he gets in the post and he gets those mismatches. If like Pop capitalizes on that all year,
Yeah.
dog, Wemby is gonna average 25 points. Like if that's their game plan.
Yeah,
to keep
because it's
him
like,
out-
what are you gonna do? You're gonna go throw your you're gonna have to have your power forward out on the wing now, or you like.
Yeah, and then you have Devin and Keldon and Jeremy like attacking the rim with no shot blocker there. If they're gonna have their shot blocker sit on Wemby, and if they do crash, like Wemby's stroking too. Like I don't mind Wemby shooting 6 3-pointers a game.
And
Like,
then when we run like
that's
that,
the game plan.
when we run our little death lineup, the couple times we've done it with him at the 5, yeah, defenses don't know what to do because he attacks the basket on the pick and rolls, and we just throw it up against the small, or he freaking took Drew Eubanks off the dribble with that sidestep three.
And hit a
And
three.
he let it
Yeah.
fly, and it's like, what are you gonna do? And so I agree with you, Josh. Like, the part of the problem is like we weren't running anything for Wemby, so he was out on the
Yeah.
wing against those smaller
Just
guys, but he was
standing,
just
right?
part of the
He was
offense.
just standing there, yeah.
And Pop finally said, like, we're running some sets for him, and yeah, he was getting like such easy looks, and it's like, I get it. I think I talked to you guys about it. It's like it was that old school. You got to earn it. Pop was probably just like, hey, you're like, we're just getting into the flow of things. But hopefully this week we'll see a little bit more consistency of like, yeah, let's get the
Getting him
ball to
the
this
ball.
guy, like in
Yeah,
these
so
spots.
like
We'll
Jake
have
and
to.
I,
We'll
I
have
think
to.
even you, Juan, like y'all are not as old as like me and Christopher are, and I feel like y'all associate Spurs basketball with a lot of the beautiful game basketball and the passes. But like Tim was up there, and Manu was up there, and Tony was up there. We didn't have a guy like Wemby to like to just throw him the ball and let him make play. I feel like we're gonna have to go back to that type of ball. Like, hey, Wemby's the guy. Give him the damn ball. Like I know we want the passes and we want the team, but like let Wemby make the right passes.
Yeah,
And then
it's a
like,
sure thing that it's gonna cause a double team. I'm saying
yeah,
like
like
that's how sure you are. You know what I'm saying? So
and
you know
remember
you can get
Tim,
your
right? Tim
actions
would
off
get the
of
ball
those.
and
Yeah.
he's turning around straight to the
I'll
double team.
say-
Like
And
there would be
if it
there
never
would be
came,
there would be
he's backing him
plays
down.
there would be plays where Bruce Bowen would get the three on the weak side corner just because you knew that the double team was going to come. I'm going to hit you, and then we're swinging it or something. You know what I'm saying? Like
Boom, boom,
it was
boom,
all
yeah.
it was all built off of the mismatches that it would cause or the trouble that one guy would cause from that position. So
And that's what we're gonna have to revert to. Like, and
Yeah,
I know people are like, you're gonna have to give him the ball. And Devin and the Keldons, they're gonna like benefit the
Yeah.
most by having.
It's like what
Wemby
we
there.
talked about. If Wemby's getting doubled on that low post, and because he is just so big, he swings it cross court like a Devin three because the double came from that. Like it's just open shots. It's just catch and
and
shoot.
Josh was saying how he can become like the Jokic kind of initiator. Like he's gonna have to because again, like the double team is gonna come. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
If it
It's gonna
doesn't come, that's barbecue chicken.
Exactly.
He
So.
could still shoot over a double team. Honestly,
He
like
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
if it's Devin Booker and a guy coming from like off of Devin, like what are those guys?
Can you imagine like the universe we're living in where it's like he sees a double team coming and he like smiles or something before he takes a jumper, like the slow mo video that will come from that or the
Yeah.
pictures, like
Oh,
Jesus
yeah.
Christ.
No,
So-
I saw like I remember seeing something on Twitter, not too long ago, and it was a clip of Wemby getting like getting the ball from like right under, or he was like running right under the rim. He ends up getting the ball, he shoots it like just off of the key, and it like cuts to the exact same clip of Timmy doing the exact same thing, exact same ran play.
Yeah.
And that's like
It's beautiful.
I love
He
to see
does
that
the
kind of stuff.
roundabout.
That's like I think like honestly, if Pop is going to be pulling plays from his bag from the older years, I want to see him get some stuff that we ran for LaMarcus. I want to see like what we could do to get him the ball like by himself on like that side of the key. And obviously a
the
lot of
play
that's going
I-
to correlate because it's going to be like, well, I'm sure a lot of the plays that we ran for LaMarcus were a lot of the plays that we ran for Timmy. But like we just know
Yeah.
how much more of a spacer LaMarcus was. I want us to be running it like that for Wemby.
Yeah. Zach
We
Collins
can
was
kind of do
passing the
both.
Yeah.
Zach Collins was passing the ball so well. I think he averaged like 4 assists or something like that in the preseason, 4.5. I'm still waiting on like that double action where Zach catches the ball at like the high post the way Timmy and Pau Gasol used to, and throw it over the top for like the lob, like off of that
Yeah,
action. Like
the high low.
that was my favorite pass. It was just like the easiest little like layup. Timmy would catch it up and just throw it to LaMarcus, and LaMarcus would spin off the defender, catch layup. Like it's that should just, I don't know. We haven't run any plays like in so long. It's like hard to even like imagine it. And so like hopefully we start doing it. Today would be a good Today would be a good indicator if we start running a lot of plays and it looks like we're running sets for Wemby, that maybe that's our plan going forward. Because if we're 2 years into this and Wemby's 2 years, 3 years into the league and we're still not running plays like through him, then we got a problem. But like this first little month, I'm okay with kind of just letting the team.
Keyshawn Johnson was like, "Oh, I cannot wait for him to be a Laker." We're like,
my
"Dog, he's
God.
5 games
Bro.
into his."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate that stuff.
Me too. But all right, y'all. As we do wrap it up, want to give the 40 y'all real quick, just on like any last thoughts on the week, how y'all are feeling, y'all ready for some Spurs basketball, Chris, I'll let you start this off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much to add, man. Like it's just been every game so far has been very entertaining. So I think we have the opportunity to have good entertaining games. Probably be competitive in a lot of them. I mean, there's renewed confidence, right? I mean, we said that, or I said that every week through every year that we did this podcast, and we were not a good team, right? It's like, well, we have a shot, but now we got a shot. You know what I'm saying? And I think we all feel that it's different. So um, it'll be good. It'll be a good week.
Yeah. Juan, what about you?
Just like as the season starts to go along, it's real early. I know we're sixth in the standings, but the Grizzlies, like they're in a really big hole already, and I think we're gonna be better than Houston no matter what. So like just to keep an eye out, we'll talk a little bit more about it like as the season goes on, like if we're still staying in that range. I think fighting for a play-in is just good, like for the team anyways, because even if you miss the playoffs, you have a chance at a top 7, 8 pick because of the way the lottery odds are. So I don't see any harm in just pushing for the play-in, and if you make it, you make it. You still got the Toronto pick that could fall into the top 10, and the what was the other pick? I think Charlotte could be like right outside the lottery, and we can get that pick. So like you're gonna get picks this year. You can package them. I think there's potential with all that. As far as like how I feel, the Spurs give me so much joy. The Wemby gives me so much joy. The Texas Rangers won the World Series. Like I'm on a high. We're like that was
Can you take
amazing.
me higher?
Yeah, can you take me higher? There you go. And on top of that, if the Cowboys still have a chance to ruin everything if they lose today against the
Oh,
Eagles.
no,
So
they're not going to, dog. Don't say that. Don't put that
but
juju in the world.
other than that, the Rangers, the Spurs, like everything's good. The Cowboys have a real good chance. Just got to keep pushing. We're looking good here in Texas.
Yes, we are.
Mm-hmm.
Rangers gonna get
Yep.
Shohei. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, we're gonna get
Oh,
Otani.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we lost to a tough Mavericks team. We handled business in Houston. You know, the Clippers blew us out. The Phoenix back-to-back dubs. Like we got Toronto, Indiana, New York, Minnesota coming up. Like if we knock them bad boys out, like if we go 3 for 4, I'm gonna have to reevaluate my season because I just I don't know what I was thinking. I thought we were not gonna be this good or maybe win. I
Yeah,
don't
we
know.
didn't
I
we, we
said-
didn't we didn't get to we didn't get to ask you guys, or y'all weren't on the show with us when we were talking our win and loss for the year and where we thought you would land. If y'all want to just quickly kind of, I know Juan
Well,
kind of said that when he talked about where if you're shooting for playing, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
But just originally, or not that it's a good idea, but it's not a bad idea. But where would you have put us before?
I think I said like 35 wins, and that was kind of like on the optimistic end, like pushing 500, because like I could kind of see like we're 3-2 right now, like that kind of made sense to me, right? Like kind of just pushing 500 through the whole year, the same way like those Demar teams, right? Where like Demar was talented, he won us some games. Could see that with Wemby. Wemby's gonna win us games, and then we're gonna have games like the Clippers. Not that bad, I hope not, but like, or we're just not there that day, and like the Dejounte, the Derek Whites, they were all young and babies for the DeMar stuff. And I think we're kind of in that same spot, except our best player now is 19 years old. And except
Yeah,
for like DeMar.
it's reversed. It's reversed. All the role players are now ready.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
and so that
That's what I
35
think.
wins. Yeah, that's where I said, but like Josh said, like if we do go 3-4 this week, and we're looking at like what would that be? We'd be 7-3. Like
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised the way Wemby has looked after the preseason. I bumped up my expectations from, I think Wemby could average 18, 19, 20 points a game to Wemby has a chance to be an all-star to like, hey, we have a chance to make like a real push. But
Push.
that there's not it there's a reason why that Clippers game did happen. We still have a lot of warts. And so, who knows? Maybe that stuff will show up a little bit more throughout this year than we think. But we just saw back-to-back
I
games
think
against
that
the playoff team, and we did well.
yeah. That does stuff happen. That stuff happens to everybody. Didn't we beat Denver like pretty good last year?
Right before the season ended, yeah.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and
So
they're the champions, so it happens to everybody. But I don't know, man. This guy's just crazy. He's
He is
messing
that.
me up.
Yeah, that's
Like I don't even know what to think. Like at first I
It's
thought
hard to gauge your expectations.
Houston's gonna be better than us because they do got players. They don't got scrubs. And they got the new coach and they got the coach that I wanted. To take over for the Spurs. He did good things in Boston. He did good things with us. Like I
Yeah.
thought he was gonna turn it around, and that's to be determined. But like this guy's just as tough. It's super tough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had it set 35, or like right around 35, 36, and in my opinion, because I feel like the West was going to be so strong, and like not top to bottom, but almost all of it, it was going to kind of bring the numbers down. Like everybody's going to be a little bit closer together in terms of their range. I figured that 35 wins would have us sniffing a 9-10 seed. But I mean, I still kind of feel like the numbers are going to average out a little bit. We're probably going to drop just a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But definitely didn't expect, the Grizzlies to spot us this many games right out the gates
Right,
in terms
yeah.
of division record, like that kind of stuff. Phoenix too, like Phoenix's record, even like like Utah, kind of like I told Jake, I feel like we are comparable. Us this year is kind of comparable to like last year's Utah team, where like they just kind of outperformed where you kind of thought they were going to be at, and I feel like our production was going to be right around that same kind of range. So I mean.
And that could put us just outside or just inside the play-in. So
that's kind of still. I still feel like that's where we're gonna end up. But I mean, it's been a crazy start to the season. I think definitely we've looked better. Even in our losses, we've looked, or at least in the Dallas game was right at the very end. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of the losses you expect to take when we show our
lost
youth or whatever.
to a 4-1 Dallas team when Luka's been going off, and like that's what we lost to, and then the one bad blowout. So like, I think we've looked solid.
Yeah, I told one of my coworkers,
and that game would have been different if Wemby played, I think.
Yeah,
for sure. But I told one of my coworkers, I said, in the other game, the Dallas game, we found out in the last like 3 to 4 minutes, the difference between a team like Dallas and a team like San Antonio, and like what their stars are ready for and all that. I said, and then in the Clippers game, we found out in the first like 4 minutes what the difference is, with the first difference between the two teams. So. We're going to show
I think
it all
that the Phoenix game is more of a. We found out like I just think we weren't. If we played Dallas tomorrow, I feel like, and it was the same type of game. Like Wemby's closing that shit out. Like I think for us. Like our guys were not ready to give.
For sure, we didn't give ourselves a good chance, and we were still had a chance. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm saying. Like you saw Wemby going off in that fourth quarter, and then they were like, "Nope, not today, buddy."
So
like, and that was kind of disappointing.
Team looks ready to like learn from their mistakes, though.
It's pretty funny.
From the Clippers to the Spurs Phoenix game, that was we were losing by 20 against Phoenix early, and we responded that time instead of the Clippers. We just gave up.
Yep.
But go ahead, Jake.
I think it's funny because it was, I feel like the same way that it was the last 2 years that we've definitely talked about these predictions and how we feel about this team. Because I definitely think that we're going to look like really, really good with how Wemby's going to be playing, how all these guys are going to be growing and all that. But I think that a lot of it's still going to end up in losses. It's still going to end up in us not being able to take the victory every time. And we have such a small sample size, it's really hard to go off of just like what we've seen so far, because what we've seen so far tells us all the positive signs, telling us, hey, we're growing, we're looking good, we're making adjustments game to game, and we're starting to like really just put it together, right? But who knows how long of a stretch that we're going to have of us continuously adjusting game to game the way that we are, and continuously taking out these wins against teams that, in a sense, we shouldn't be beating. Like, we shouldn't be beating a team that should be a 1-2-3 in the Western Conference right now. But we did. We were able to take 2 games against them. So, it's like, that's how our season's going to be, because we're going to win games that we shouldn't have won. We're going to probably lose some games that we shouldn't have lost. So, I think it's going to be very back and forth on that.
To that point, I'll say this because I haven't had a chance. I guess I forgot to bring it up. Is I love Wemby, and I am like all on board with Wemby, but I am kind of in that boat of like, hey, if this guy is the greatest prospect ever of all time, and people are saying like across all sports, then maybe this is like what's to be expected. You know what I mean? Like, we can't if he is that. If he's not that, that's fine. He can still just be a generational prospect. But if he's the greatest prospect ever, and if that's what we're holding him to, like there was that discussion Chris Broussard had brought up on the First Things First show, right?
If
He
he's
said
Hakeem Olajuwon, that's a bust.
if
or
he wins
whatever he said.
if he wins two champions, but it, like you hear it and you're like, well, that's ridiculous. But if he's the greatest prospect ever in a NBA landscape that is can be so dominated by just one guy on a team, I don't know. Like if he only wins two for the organization that drafts him, like I'm kind of in that boat. And then it's not fair because Timmy got us 5, so and 2 would only match David. Like if the greatest prospect of all time is only like legacy wise on par with our second best player, like that is kind of crazy to think about. But I am kind of like siding with that a little bit more and more. Now I also don't want. I do feel like there's a
If
lot
you give
of.
3 other Hall of Famers, I think he'll win more than 5.
Bro, if we just get him, I think just one
Like,
other guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, like because like Shaq and Kobe won 3, right? If he had anybody that close to
Their level.
that level,
Kobe.
because I think I love Tony and Tim, but like they weren't Shaq, right? Like Kobe had, and they weren't Kobe, and so like Timmy had won 3 championships in that little span with those 3 guys, or with 2 guys, and like David too, like in that 2003 to 2007, and he was the best player in the NBA. Can Wemby do that with like just Devin Vassell? Right, we have to get more, but like I kind of am in the boat of like, okay, if he's the greatest prospect ever of all time, if he's better than LeBron, like prospect wise, and he stays with the Spurs for 20 years, then we probably want to see more than just one chip that LeBron got for Cleveland, right? Like, if not, then he's not really the greatest or the greatest. At that point, he's not a prospect anymore. He's just an NBA player. But like right now, as far as what you were saying, Jake, like we're gonna win games we aren't supposed to win. Well, if he's the greatest prospect of all time, then maybe we should kind of reevaluate that and go, okay, like
That's
see it.
exactly
We'll
why
see
I
it.
said through 5 games, I was just like, damn, I don't even know what I thought about
How to
him
gauge it.
because
It's really hard.
because he came in and like he outplayed Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. And when you in last year or this year, when you list the names right, they're up there as far as best players in the whole league.
Yeah.
And Wemby went out there and made him look like, you weren't even talking about them. You didn't want to look at them. Like you have this guy on that's like a polarizing talent, and that's showing out and winning you these games, and you're just like, what the hell's going on? Like, I don't know what to think. It's crazy to think that we have him on our team. Like,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly
Well-
that. We got a guy going head to head with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker 5 games in.
Looking
Maybe
like
that's
the
where
best
he's
player on
at.
the court. Like,
Yeah,
that's like
maybe
definitely
that's
one
where
of the
he's
best things too.
not looking like he was the best
Yeah.
player on the court on both
It's-
ends of the floor. It's so funny, right? You see how many layups that people don't even they just run in and just keep on dribbling out. They're like, nah,
Mhm.
I ain't shooting that
Presence
shit.
is there.
Like, and
The
those don't
presence
show
is
up on the box. Those do not show up, and you see it so many times. Even Nurkic, dog. Nurkic would just get it and throw that shit out. Like he didn't want no part of that.
He tried the post game at the beginning and then he was out. He did not want it.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, cool. I can't shoot this today, guys. Sorry. Like,
Yeah.
and that's the way it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at. I just if he's in that boat, if he makes the All-Star game this year, I like if he picks it up. Wasn't Walker Kessler getting like D-point nods last year? Like people were talking about it. He was a
He's getting
rookie.
defensive team like votes. That's what was
Right.
happening last year.
I think Wemby can get that. We get in the flow of things. He starts blocking 3-4 shots a game. He's an All-Star game.
All defensive team, yeah.
He gets us into the play-in playoffs. Now, for for legacy sakes, I hope we kind of do make the play-in. That way we can say Wemby, all 19 years of his career, he made the play-in or postseason, right? Like that'd be
Oh,
cool.
yeah,
The
yeah.
same way for Timmy, but yeah, right? Like if we can do all that, then I do think the expectations, I don't know, like we're probably a little on the lower end because of we're kind of underestimating this kid.
Maybe.
He's special.
Maybe. But we got 4 games of basketball to look forward to this week. And, I mean, we have so many more games of Wemby that we're going to be getting ready to evaluate to just see, like, how good he is and then to see how good this team is around him. I know Juan was kind of talking about, like, if Wemby's the greatest prospect of all time, that he could get it done by himself. But it doesn't help when you have a good supporting cast around you. So we got to see if these guys are going to be good enough to support a guy like Wemby and the development of the future. So with that being said, though, we're very excited to be doing this new season. Like I said, we are like locked in. We're trying to make sure that this year is as good as a year as it can be, and we're doing a lot behind the scenes to make sure that that this season is going to be a great season for us. So I hope everybody has a wonderful day, a blessed day, and I mean, we're going to be looking forward to a lot more of good Spurs talk. But
Yep.
with that being said, y'all, hope you have a good Sunday. Go Cowboys. Go Spurs, go.
Spurs go.
And my Texas Tech Red Raiders need to get a bowl game. So it's my last thing for it. We'll beat TCU. So, but alrighty then, y'all. That being said, we are out. Peace.